The U.S. and Iran holding high-stakes nuclear talks in Geneva as the U.S. sends a second aircraft carrier to the Gulf. This comes amid threats of U.S. military intervention if a deal on Iran's nuclear program can't be reached. We're joined now in studio by NTD's Washington correspondent, Mari Otsu. Mari, nice to have you in with us here. What's the latest on the Iran talks?
Sure, Jack. Nice to be with you. So U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and President Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, led those talks in Geneva today. And both the U.S. and Iran afterwards said that progress was made. U.S. officials say, though, that they're going to have to wait for 2 weeks to get more, quote, detailed proposals from the Iranian regime. And Iran's foreign minister, meanwhile, says that the two sides agreed on, quote, guiding principles. However, more work is going to be needed in the coming weeks to come to an agreement. And Iran continues also to insist that its nuclear program is, quote, entirely peaceful. However, the U.S. State Department has since 1984 designated the Iranian regime a state sponsor of terrorism. And recently, Iran International is reporting that just last month, over 36,000 people were killed by the regime in anti-government protests. And here's Vice President Vance today speaking on this issue. Let's take a look at that.
Yes, of course, the Iranians say that they're not interested in a nuclear weapon. We know, in fact, that's not true. They have shown a number of things that make it clear that they're interested in acquiring a nuclear weapon.
Vance saying he spoke to Witkoff and Kushner about the negotiations and that while everything is on the table, including ballistic missiles and support for Iranian regime proxies, the U.S.'s red line is Iran possessing a nuclear weapon.
We don't want nuclear proliferation. If Iran gets a nuclear weapon, there are a lot of other regimes, some friendly, some not so friendly, who would get nuclear weapons after them. That would be a disaster for the American people because then you have these crazy regimes all over the world with the most dangerous weapons in the world.
This comes as the U.S. sends a second aircraft carrier strike group to the Gulf and Iran conducts military exercises in the Strait of Hormuz. President Trump warning the regime there will be consequences if they don't make a deal.
So I'll be involved in those talks indirectly, and they'll be very important. We'll see what can happen. I don't think they want the consequences of not making a deal. They want to make a deal.
Meanwhile, also in Geneva, Russia and Ukraine are meeting to hammer out a peace deal mediated by the U.S. President Trump pressuring Kyiv to act fast.
Well, in big talks, it's going to be very easy. I mean, look, so far, Ukraine better come to the table fast. That's all I'm telling you. We are in a position, we want them to come.
And Jack, also today, just a few hours ago, President Trump is unveiling that first batch of projects from that U.S.-Japan trade deal that he signed over the past summer, and that's officially launching today. And under that trade deal, Japan committed to $550 billion of investments in the U.S., and President Trump says that those first three projects are going to be a gas power plant in Ohio, a critical minerals site in Georgia, and a liquefied natural gas plant in Texas.
Wow, certainly strengthening alliances with those in the Indo-Pacific and with Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi coming to the White House in just a few weeks. Let's shift gears now. Civil rights icon and once presidential candidate Jesse Jackson has died at 84. Talk to us a bit about him and the president's response to this.
Sure. So Jackson's family made that announcement early this morning. They said that Jackson passed peacefully in his sleep and that he was surrounded by his family. Jackson, of course, rose to prominence in the civil rights movement, working alongside figures like Martin Luther King Jr. And as you said, he was a presidential candidate not once but twice. And President Trump is thus commemorating him as such, calling him a force of nature, saying that he was a very good man with lots of personality, lots of grit, gregarious, and importantly, that he truly loved people. The president also says that he has helped pass measures that Jackson has supported in the past, such as criminal justice reform and funding long-term for historically black colleges and universities.
Right. Mari Otsu, thank you so much.
Thanks.